Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Luis Fernandez. WRAL News brought together law enforcement and community leaders on Wednesday for an open discussion about youth violence, what's driving it, and what we can do as a community to break the cycle. Raleigh Police Chief Rico Boyce and Wake County Sheriff Willie Rowe were among the group we brought together for a 1-hour discussion. Here's the first half of that conversation. Take a listen.
To youth violence has been debated by law enforcement, schools, the church and community, and teenagers themselves. Tonight, we bring those groups together to offer some 2026 solutions for problems been around forever. The fact that we're in Raleigh tonight is just a matter of logistics. We could have had this conversation anywhere in North Carolina. Joining us right now in our studio is Raleigh Police Chief Rico Boyce and Wake County Sheriff Willie Rowe. And we're also happy to welcome Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman remotely. A reminder now, every night at 7 o'clock, we ask for your emails and what you are thinking. Tonight's no different. Send us an email to indepth@wral.com, and we'll take some of your questions to our panel to get them answered. Before we dive into our conversation, we need to get the pulse of where things are today. WRAL's Dan Haggerty looks at the impact of youth crime in the area.
You've heard the headlines, you've seen the stories.
Teenager has been accused in a Raleigh shooting.
14-year-old is in custody this morning, charged with murder.
Teenage girl who's charged in the murder of another teenager.
A 14-year-old is now in custody after a deadly shooting in Durham.
Youth violence is impacting every corner of the state. When you narrow in on Wake County, Raleigh police data shows a troubling trend. So far this year, there have been 894 arrests involving juveniles. That's already more than all of 2025. And the incidents keep spilling into public places.
According to Raleigh police, this all started when three 17-year-olds went to the mall, confronted and assaulted a 20-year-old employee.
Raleigh police say 9 people were shot after 2 massive teen takeovers.
Look even closer. Assaults involving kids are up 67%. The number of actual bullets fired up more than 1,100%.
It's heartbreaking and horrifying. And I understand the desire for accountability.
The numbers are on the rise, and now we're looking for solutions. Curfews, interventions, more teen programs. That and so much more are on the table.
All right, we want to begin with Chief Boyce. Chief Boyce, this idea was born when you and I were having lunch about a month ago. It was right after the July 4th violence that we saw in Briar Creek and Glenwood South. You were very concerned about Raleigh teenagers, especially with the school year coming up. What was your greatest fear specifically in that moment?
That the violence was going to continue and we could potentially lose a life of one of our community members. And as police chief, my job is to make sure I'm doing all I can to protect this community, no matter what age you are, where you live at. But I want some intervention. I want something to help us keep this community safe when it comes to our youth.
Sheriff Rowe, your deputies are in each county high school as SROs. Are students generally comfortable with approaching them with problems, with issues? And how important is that?
It's very important. We've worked hard to build those relationships. And so the students reach out to the school resource officers. Our officers serve as mentors as well as coaches in several of our middle schools. So it's been a very rewarding relationship.
I want to ask DA Lauren Freeman. DA Freeman, I know you'd rather not see any of these kids in your line of work, but life happens. Is incarceration a deterrent for these kids today?
First of all, Gerald, just let me thank you and WRAL for bringing attention to this very important issue. It's going to take our whole community engaging on this if we're going to solve the problems that we've seen and the increases that we're seeing in youth violence. I mean, all of us that are involved right now and sitting on this panel have an obligation to our community to keep them safe. And so we're going to focus on public safety and where there's a real threat to public safety by violence by juveniles. You know, it is important that we hold them accountable. It is important that we take them out of the community, ideally with an opportunity on the back end of that to get them on a different trajectory. And so, you know, there are those that are going to have to be, you know, detained and potentially serve sentences. But I think there's a whole nother group that all of us are also focused on. As the chief mentioned, you know, we are not turning our backs on the idea of prevention and intervention. This has to be a multifaceted approach to solving this problem.
Chief Boyce, do you feel that kids respect law enforcement?
I do. They're majority of the kids They know we're members of this community. They respect us. But there's a few that we're not reaching, that they don't respect law enforcement. And that's a challenge for us, and that's a problem for us. And that's what we want to find solutions where we can bridge that gap. We can improve that relationship between law enforcement and those in our community, those juveniles who just, I don't talk to the police. I don't have nothing to say. I'm going to run from the police. I'm going to fight for the police. Unfortunately, that's a reality. That's what our officers are seeing out there, is that the suspects are becoming, the criminals are becoming younger and doing more violence. And it's all about respect. We're losing that respect with, segments of our community. And that's where part of the problem lies. It's just that mutual respect between the community, the juveniles, and law enforcement.
Sheriff Rowe, I'll ask you the same question. Do kids respect your deputies in school?
Well, I think the majority do. There's always a few that reject. Unfortunately, those few make more noise than the ones who are good partners. But I think when you look at it, people run to fire and rescue, but they run from police. We have to change that to let the public know that we care and they matter. And through the interaction, we get to know each other. We're able to look past the uniform and see a person. And then our staff are able to look at the youth and not see a statistic, but see a little bit of themselves when they were that age and how we can work together to keep everybody safe so they can achieve their dreams and aspirations.
Is that a directive that your deputies have going into a school year?
Say again?
Is that a directive that the Wake County deputies have when they go into a school at the beginning of the year? Say, look, this is what we're going to do. We have to establish this kind of a relationship with these students.
It's all about relationship building. It's about communication, continuing to listen. And when we listen, we're able to understand exactly what the youth are looking for and how we can facilitate that and help them achieve.
A big story in Raleigh are curfews. Right now it's being debated here in this city. Other cities have them. They've had this discussion. It's going to be incumbent upon your departments to enforce these. This is a heavy lift. I mean, many people in the community may not know that, but as briefly as you can, just talk about what that's going to mean if we do have a curfew in Raleigh for your department and yours.
Yeah, I will say, first of all, I want to find solutions where curfew is not the only answer, the only option. That's what I'm looking for as chief. That's what we're looking for here in the city of Raleigh. Like, what other programs, what other options are out there that's addressing the kids that are out late at night after 11 p.m. Committing these crimes? Because they're not going to the programs. They're not going to the camps. What else is out there where we can reach that population and where a curfew is not needed? But I will tell you as a chief, it's very troubling when I see the crime statistics involving juveniles, and then I have no options. I have very little ways to stop that trend from going even higher. And like I say, those numbers that you just showed, it's August, and we still have 4 more months left in the year. So a curfew is a tool. It's not the answer. It's not the fix. But I'm looking for solutions, just like the sheriff. We want to come together and talk with our community. Give us something to address these young folks that are out past midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., committing very serious offenses here in the capital city.
Sheriff Rowe, are you and your deputies planning ahead in case this becomes a reality?
Yeah, we're always looking forward. There comes a time where safeguards have to be put in place. However, we don't need more rules. We need more opportunities to work together, more cooperation. And that's what we're focusing on as we interact and as we listen. I think we're able to develop a plan of action that will keep the community safe and create an opportunity for our youth to be successful.
Lauren Freeman, what do you think, DA Freeman? Is a curfew the answer, or at least one of the tools?
I think it is one of the tools. I think we are at a point where we have to look at what are all of the different tools that we can give to law enforcement. Is it the only thing that we need to be doing? Absolutely not. But, anytime we have something like what we saw on July 4th, teen takeover, one of the questions that the community always asks is, what can we do to hold parents accountable? What can we do to make sure that parents are also doing their jobs and making sure that their kids are where they're supposed to be? And, I tell people I'm the mother of a teenager, and so I get that can be difficult. But, having an ordinance on the books would allow us to have some opportunity to also reach down to parents and make sure that they are trying to keep their kids not only from being out, offending, but also just to keep them safe. I think that's the other thing. We need to look at a curfew not only as a tool of enforcement, but also a tool of protection. And, give our law enforcement the tools they need to make sure we can address this problem.
And how is this going to affect your office if there is something like a curfew? I imagine you're going to be in the position of having to prosecute the violators.
Certainly, I mean, this is like many things I imagine that law enforcement in our area has had on the books to try and enforce. And, in my experience with Raleigh Police Department, our Wake County Sheriff's Office, they do a very good job on the front end of trying to educate people and gain compliance. And so I would anticipate that if they end up with this authority, that is something that they very much will do. And a lot of times out of that situation where there is education and encouragement to comply first, we don't see a lot of cases actually materialize in the courthouse, but certainly if there are individuals that are charged, we're going to do our part to make sure that we get their attention. Does that mean they're going to end up being convicted of a curfew violation? Might not. What we need to make sure of is that we've gotten people's attention and that, again, we have this as a resource in those situations like we saw on July 4th.
I think one of the things we must do is listen to our youth, right? We get in these positions of power and we've been their age, they haven't been our age, so we kind of think we know more and know better, in which we do. But leadership is humility, and humility is also listening to what they have to say. Even though we know what it's like to be teenagers or teens, we don't know what it's like to be them.
Speaking of them, we are joined by Omari Dunn, a 9th grader at Cary Academy, and David Wieland, a 9th grader at Cleveland High School in Johnston County. Also joined by Graham Witherspoon, a principal at Cathedral School in Raleigh. He's taught and administered at both the public and private levels in Virginia and North Carolina. Before that, he was a Raleigh police officer, deeply involved in youth issues. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Your students call you Mr. Spoon, right?
Yes, sir.
I know you have a dress code at Cathedral.
Yes.
Imagine my surprise when I saw this on television on WRAL. Dave, go ahead and roll that. That's not part of the dress code. But there's a reason you're dressed like a turkey. Why'd you do it, specifically?
It's what you do, right? Our goal was to bring joy every day. You bring joy and excellence. I challenged the students and said, listen, if we raise X amount of money, I'll wear a turkey suit. And we raised the money, and of course I had to don a turkey suit.
But it's good. It helps build relationships with these kids.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they know that Mr. Spoon is just, kind of a quirky guy. You went to Cathedral. He was your principal at the time. Did kids get him, or were they intimidated by this giant guy who used to be a police officer?
No, I say people got him. He's really welcoming as a principal, and he always helps us to enjoy the experience we have at Cathedral.
David, do adults understand how teenagers communicate with each other? Do we get it?
I wouldn't say. I mean, definitely sometimes they'll understand, but most of the time, not.
Mm-hmm. What sort of questions should we be asking you that we don't already?
I would say maybe, what do you guys plan on doing tonight? You plan on going out with your friends Friday evenings or even Saturday nights when you don't have school the next day?
Mm-hmm. Omari, is there something that would resonate with you and your friends that perhaps, we're older. We went through life when it was a much different time. We don't have the distractions that you all have. How does that work out? Like social media, that kind of thing, cell phones.
I think the rise of social media has, I guess you can say, helped teenagers to really compare themselves to people, which is not always good. And I think it's good for adults, whether parents or not, to always check in on the youth.
That's a good point, whether they're parents or not, because they said it takes a city, correct, or a community or a nation or to raise a child. Spoon, you've taught and counseled students from affluent families and from families that are struggling a little bit, right? The home lives of these students are very different. Do you approach these kids any differently, or is a kid a kid?
You got to have a standard, right? You got to cultivate love. And that's just, I remember when I left education, I became a police officer. I learned middle class, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. Everybody has something, right? When you come into a school and you come into an educational facility, the goal is to make sure kids are able to relax and able to breathe. It should be 8 hours of you can step away from what's bothering you at home and sometimes what's not good in your neighborhood. And our educators in North Carolina do that. They make sure when kids come in every day, they have a safe place to educate.
I want to ask you, do you guys feel safe at school?
Yes, definitely.
Because we're reporting all the time about weapons found, schools on lockdown, it's on the news all the time. But overall, you feel generally comfortable and safe at school.
Yes, when I was at Cathedral, I felt very safe, have fun with my friends, and overall it was a good experience.
Yeah, is there anything that administrators or teachers can do to make you feel more safe?
I wouldn't say so. The way Cathedral taught was good. I liked it. Made me feel very safe.
Now, Mara, you've been to a couple of schools. You graduated from Cathedral. You're in a new place. Same thing? You feel generally safe at school?
Yes, I feel generally safe. The teachers make it a great community, and because we're the smallest school now growing, it helps because it makes you feel like more of a family and can talk to anyone.
Kids are different. Yep. Sometimes you have to teach or administer firmly. Other times you got to back off a little bit. How do you walk that line?
You listen. Listen without the intent of having an answer. Like adults, we do a great job of somebody's talking to us, we're thinking in our head, oh, we have to have a solution. Nah, we just listen, right? And in my experience as being a law enforcement officer gave me that perspective of allowing the moment, right? And you listen to people and let them get their moment out. It's the same thing with our kids. They just need a space where they can talk and freely talk to you.
And the environment has to be right.
Absolutely.
You have to set a standard for listening, correct?
Absolutely.
Because if you're not used to it, back in the day, parents, dads, man's man, they didn't talk. Men didn't talk back in the day.
No.
And
you got to know when, right? You got to know when to approach, right? And you got to know and understand when to pull a student out and not in front of their peers and whatnot. And even from the little pre-K that I have all the way up to 8th grade, right? It's a different tune of way you talk. Mr. Swin has to get on his knee and talk to the little ones, but it's a skill set. And I remember training at RPD, it's literally a skill set of listening, right? And trying to you don't need to have a solution all the time. And I think that's why we're here tonight. Like we all want solutions, right? We all want,
yes.
Today, let's just listen and cultivate those listening skills.
And we'll learn something.
Absolutely.
Back now on WRAL, I want to introduce our panelists for this particular segment. Kerwin Pittman is a social justice activist and criminal justice reform expert. He's the founder of Recidivism Reduction Educational Program Services, or REPS. Nancy Petty is senior pastor at Pullman Memorial Baptist Church in Raleigh. Her counsel and mentorship has helped guide the lives of people across the area for more than 30 years. And of course, we remember Sheriff Rowe. Thank you all again for being with us. I'm going to start with you, Pastor Petty. Does counseling a teenager start with counseling the parent?
Both. It's a family issue. And so I think what we need to do is to see the issue as a family issue as opposed to a youth issue or a parent issue. We've been talking about we have to have many solutions and integrate our approaches to this problem, and that's one of them. We need to see the family as a unit and address the issues of the family if we want. So we need to start with both.
Kerwin, you actually say you are the first former inmate to buy a prison. I am. So you have had conversations with inmates for a very long time.
Yes.
Is there a common theme in their incarceration?
It is definitely a common theme, and one of those common themes is trauma, right? And so we know and understand a lot of times hurt people, and so with this particular issue, we have to look at addressing the societal ills or social determinants of why an individual went down a certain path to really look at and really weed out the roots causes of these different issues.
And Sheriff Rowe, when you're talking about the extent that your deputies are in the high schools and they're dealing directly with these kids, what is their prime function?
The prime function is to keep them safe so they can get an education and go home at the end of the day being fulfilled.
Simple as that.
That's simple.
Nancy, you've, like I said, you've been doing this for over 30 years. Anything surprise you?
Not really. I think these kids are growing up in one of the hardest times lately in our country and in the world. And I think they've been named as the missing generation. We don't see them. We literally don't look them in the eye and see them. And so from my perspective as a pastor, as a spiritual guide, we're in a moral crisis with this. Yeah. And so we have to approach it that way and start seeing our young people, our youth, as individuals and as important people in our communities that need our attention and need our focus. And I think sometimes we don't take the time to do that.
Thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and for making us part of your morning routine. You can find that full conversation on the WRAL YouTube page. Just search WRAL. Be sure to like and subscribe. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email with Triangle news, events, and headlines to help you get ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.